Hello and welcome to this quick overview on GraphQL. I do this video because my company is introducing GraphQL and I am now forced to work with it. My next steps depend on it, so I decided I have to look into it and figure out how everything kind of works. By this I asked myself what I need to do at work and how could I get a better understanding on how it works in general. So this is quite a 4-part video, quite short parts, where I will go to a goal called let's say books and quotes and links and whatever you want to call it. I think about it. First I want to have a prototype that works and gives me some responses. Then I want to connect my GraphQL server to a data source like my databases, and then third I want to introduce a second table, and I want to make the query schema of GraphQL a little bit bigger so I can access both tables at the same time. And last one, I want to link both tables, and this is exactly what you are seeing on the screen. What I've achieved here is I have two tables. One holds items and another one holds quotes, and the items are related to some quotes, or vice versa, let's say. So if an item has a quote, it's related to the quotes in the quotes table. There is no data duplication, it's just linking. And this is how I would walk bigger graphs as well, but I think those steps are enough to understand how it works, how you can set it up, and of course access your data. So let's get started with a very simple example. For this I will check out a repository and go to the branch box. So if you want to download the repository, go to this GitHub page. I will provide the link in the description. Just git clone it and you can go. So let's go here. I want to check out my books. Git checkout books. This is the first one. The beauty of this is it's working without any database. You don't need it. You don't have to set up anything. We work with just a picture file. We have two books and I want to return this data. So where do we start? Let's start with the index file. Simply we have the Apollo server. This is who takes care about the GraphQL stuff, and then the standalone server is basically a wrapper that uses Express under the hood to give us a simple REST API. TypeDevs is a graph schema specific one. This is where we decide how our types are looking inside the schema. The data is defined there, and as well the way we can query the data. The book resolver is then a link between our data source and the schema. So basically the schema gives us options we define on how to access the data source, and the data source in the book resolver for this time will resolve the data. It's quite simple because I'm simply give it the books, and the books is in this source, the data source. Normally I would give them a database, and this is what comes next. But this is very simple. You don't have to do anything, nothing to set up fancy. Just copy the repository, check out books. Don't forget to npm install everything, and then basically what you have to do is open a terminal, say npm run build, and we will walk through it a little bit in 1 second. So I described this, what we are doing here. This is the server. We will do this later with the end file when we use the database as well. but for now it's hard-coded. And let's look on to the type definitions for the book. It's very simple. It's just the book. It has a title, author, and this is the query. And this defines how we can access the data. For example, when we will write a query, we will say query. We say what we want. This is books, and then what we want to get back. And for example, we want to get the author and the title. So this will query the books and return those two fields for us. And it's very simple. Then the resolver just takes the books from the fixtures we will pass as data source when we instantiate the class, and it's a simple function that's also query. You need to think about this one. Query is like this one, and the books is like this one. And of course, those books are type definitions. Think about it like an interface from TypeScript, and those have to match as well. So now when we run the application, we get greeted with an error because those queries aren't defined in the schema. So we can but now say books, and we have the author, and we have the title. We can run it and we get our data back. Simple as this. Basically that's part one. Now I have a short break, prepare something maybe, and then we will see us in part two, and we will introduce a data source so we can use a database. So now part two, we will introduce a data source to the database. How do we do this? Quite simple. First, check out, for example, let's say quotes, and then we should have everything. Don't save. So now the entry point is a little bit bigger because we added a lot of stuff. What did we add? We added, first of all, database. We now use .env, so very simple. Use this for local testing. If you want to do something in production, choose a better password. Back to this. We read everything in, pass it to the connection. The connection is MariaDB and SQLize. Very simple, nothing special. Let's hop to it if I am allowed to. So what it does, in this case, it takes both tables from now, and it will create a database if there is no existing database. Otherwise, it will try to create the tables if they're not existing. And if you start this, go to this query, execute it after you created the tables, so we have some data. Yeah, basic stuff the database needs. Back to this file, then we connect to the database, we test the connection is working, and we sync. What this does, it checks for the tables. If they're there, if they're not there, it will create the tables. Then type definitions. This time we just push those two into our array because those are arrays and you can combine stuff. Yeah, those are a little bit more complicated now because we have a little bit more options what we can do with the data, because in the end we are working with a database, so now we can easily write and update data. Everything else seems to be the same, or I know it's quite the same. So simple Express server in the background. Now let's look at the item. The item is quite simple. It's a type of item. Again, think about it like an interface. Now what you see here is I have to split the queries. Why do I have to split these queries? Simple. Those are not JSON objects. They don't work this way. You have a key and a field, and then you have to link those. Basically, you have to expand in this style a nested object. So now I can access in my schema over the table items or over the table items or over the table quotes my data. We don't need books anymore. This was one approach because I didn't get how to separate it because I was stupid, but in the end it works. And here we have our quotes. Simple as this. Now let's talk about the resolvers. They're a little bit more complicated now, because when we want to get our item, we want to fetch it from our database. SQLize will take care of most of the stuff, so you need to think about this query is like your type definition schema. Let's compare them. If you look at this, we have a query here, query, and we have table items, and we return an empty object. That's totally fine. But then we have item queries. Those are the queries that we are doing against the table with items, or the items table. And here we have all items on the by ID, and we have the mutation, again, empty object. We return and create item, and here simple create item. It's item mutation. It's important to name it correctly, write it correctly, otherwise it would be recognized. But the error handling is quite okay in these cases. What did I forget? I forgot about the database. So what I do to get a database running, simple, I use Docker and just install a database. Again, there is the data for the quotes. Now when I will run this, we can then look how this will work out. Now let's keep using this. So npm run build, let's build it. Run start. Oh. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So we don't have books now, but we can now look here. If you press Control space, you get auto completion. Now we can access items. Remember, I have created an item in the first place because it's not the first time I do this. But if you want to create an item, you can just, or we can just do it. Let's do it here. Where do I do it? Where do I do it? Mutation. This. Let's copy this. This one. I want to. What's wrong here? Okay. Mutation. Oh yeah, it's table items, create items. And then I need the name. Let me think about it. Do I only need? Yeah, I need only the name, but I want to write it different. I don't want to use variables here, and I actually don't want to use variables for now at all. So this is the second item. It gets a description. This is optional, so this is why I was a little bit confused, because I was looking for it. Again, this field is optional. So now I can fetch those ones, but I can also say it has a quote. Oh, no, not now. This will come when we link it. So now I can create it, or should be able to create it. Yes, there is a second item. And now let's go back and look what we actually got. So query this time. Table items, all items, and we want name. Let's query this, and we have first item. This is from the last time, and second item. Okay, now that we have two tables, and you saw me thinking about the quote, I want to link them. Let's do this in the next part. And I decided to skip one part because I'm lazy and I don't want to make a long video. So next part will be the linking and the final part. See you there. Okay, let's start with the third part and the final part. It's the beauty, what we are now dealing with. It's the power of GraphQL, or what I think should be the power of it. So it's walking down the graph. To do this, we will link the tables. First of all, I will exit this application running here, and I will check out to linked. I will walk with you through the major changes, and there are only two. It's in the type definitions and in the resolver. So let's start with the item, because they are the big changes. So as you can see here now, the item query now has the quote, and the type also have a quote. This is not a quote like you would think about this quote with all the fields and all the data stored. No, it's only the ID. So I store the ID for a quote to the item as its quote, and then what Graph will do for me, it will fetch the quote if it's available as well when I ask for it. Otherwise, it will ignore it. So how do we realize this? When you look at a resolver, now there needs to be an item resolver object, and it will return a quote. We need to instantiate the quote up here, so basically sequelizing it or get a reference. I don't know what sequelize does under the hood, but we have a function that then will execute a query, look for the item. If we found it, we will return it. This is how you link. Quite simple. This is how you expand your schema, and this is how you expand your resolver. That's all. Everything else keeps the same. And when you run this, run build. First we will build it. Run start. Let's go back here. And what we can do now is, first of all, let's create a third item. Rotation, table items, create item. Again, I don't want variables. Don't get me wrong, I like variables, but not now. Third item. Description is because sometimes the names look off. You will get it when you work with this particular setup a little bit, and it's working with IDs. I don't get it, but later. And we will add a quote to it. Oh, I can't do this. There is something missing. Or it seems like there is something missing. Yes, here. I can now say quote, and this is an int. Let's rebuild this. Maybe I need to get rid of it. Table items, create item. Let's go a little bit quicker. Description. I have quote now, yes, and we will give it a 3, 4, 8. I don't know. I added quote to the schema. I don't know how this was correct spelled. And this is the third item. Again, get rid of variables in this particular space. And I actually want to return name. That's fine. So now we have created this. Now we can query this. Table items, get all items, and I want to have the name. With now those items, and what I want to do now is let's look at the quotes. 358 was it? So query table quotes, get quote by ID. Now you see this ID. I don't get it, but let's keep it this way, and we want to have the author. Let's run this, and this is Thomas Devar. Okay, now we are looking for a query. This time we'll make use of the linking. Table items by ID. This is the third one, and this time this third item has the ID 3. And now I want to have the name. I want to have the quote, and for the quote I want to have the author and the quote itself. And it's not working. Okay, I have an issue here. Let's figure it out really quick. What's my issue? Where are my resolvers here? This is my item reference. I look if I have a quote ID. If I have a quote ID, then I will return it. Okay. Let's jump back here and let's look at the one. Oh, this is working. Interesting. Now, maybe I did something wrong setting up the third quote, the third item. So let's look at the items again. All items. I want to have the ID, the name. Okay, this looks good. Then I want a description. This looks good. Quote. Give me only the ID. Okay, what I now want to do is I want to look into my database. Maybe there is something wrong setting up the data. If I'm allowed to, because my Explorer just crashed. Here it is. Let's go to this. I believe it's running on the Nook. But which one? Let's look here. No, those are only the items. Oh, GrapQL background. I should have known that I give it a better name. So this is the data, and interesting, there are no quote IDs. So what is my issue here? I want the quote. And then I ignore it here. So this is basically the quote ID. I want to do it this way, and then I can say quote ID. Let's save this, rebuild it, start. Okay, let's go back here. Let's make another mutation. Maybe I should reload it. Table items, we want to create an item. Again, thank you. I will figure it out. Fourth item. Description. Troubleshooting is nice. It's what makes fun. It's the puzzle part. So give it a quote ID and let's say this one. And this time I want to have the quote ID back. So if it works, I should see the correct data, and there it is. And now I should refresh this here, and now it works. Okay, fine, beautiful. Now I can say query table items, all items. I want to have the ID, I want to have the name, I want to have the quote, and I want to have the actual quote. Now we get this data. Remember, the second and the third item I fucked up, so we don't have a quote ID, but it's okay. Otherwise it works. Can link data, beautiful. Sorry for, yeah, I should have checked it, and yeah, but on the other hand, now you can see that everybody is struggling. So have a nice day and thanks for watching.